Here we are right now. We got Mr. Horton. This is the Horton Hustle. And we're going to be talking right now about the many colors of co-teaching. Co-teaching, to me, was one turd that you couldn't shine before this year. And I tell you why. I had a miserable experience. And the one experience I had, it was the second year I was teaching. And, it just wasn't all that in a bag of potato chips. So I see the stink eye that my co-teacher's giving me because she's like, James, this ain't all about you, cousin. The co-teaching. I am part of this podcast. I'm at least going to get 5 minutes of speak time. My co-teacher is Miss Phillips. Miss Phillips, why in the blue moon of Kentucky did you become a teacher?
I became a teacher to be in the classroom and to encourage the kids and love on them. And
let me be honest with you. Is it weird that you're now doing the third grade and you got a third grader across the hall? Are you slightly jealous that you're not teaching that third grader right now?
Yes, a little bit.
Because you told me earlier he's about to go on a field trip and you can't go. I mean, our schedules don't line up, and so you have to unfortunately send him onto a field trip that you cannot participate because you're going to be serving other students on that same field trip. It's just messed up. So, co-teaching to you, how would you generally define it? Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's abstract for a long time. What is co-teaching to you?
To me, co-teaching is going into a general education classroom and being there and offering support to not just the SPED students, but to all the students. And just
man, I wish you could have met me that second year. I was stupid. Like, I didn't understand. Like, I mean, see, you hit the nail on the head. I was dumb. I went into, I had two teachers, but see, they didn't really make it easy on me. I think they see, you already know that I'm, a different kind of crayon in the box, but like, they just made me feel that way. And so you still accept me anyways. But, my biggest thing is that expectations, I think, is cool. You and I, when we bumped into each other, we had learned, when did we get that email from our administration when we co-teaching?
Not long before school was starting.
Well, that's just how, that's how it happens. And sometimes, they don't really know the population and everything. But see, all I could think of in the back of my mind is, man, they done messed up. Because, see, they don't know that me and Phyllis, we already thick and thieves, but we never had the chance to bump into each other. And plus, I had a long-standing reputation of just being just someone who didn't like to work with people, like in the classroom, just because, I don't know, there's just a dynamic. It just never really worked out. I'm not going to go into specifics, but what are some apprehensions that you have about co-teaching just generally? So you were given the assignment. You're working with James Horton, and the first thing you started doing was freaking out. So what was your thoughts? Honestly, I was still in a fog. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life at that time. But when you got that email, what was the thoughts going through your head? James Cornelius Dinglebacher Horton was going to be your co-teacher. What was going on?
I was thinking, what in the world am I getting into? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. That's probably what you're thinking. Like, yeah, I'm about to be wrecked every day. Like, this dude's all over the place. But no, generally, I know that Miss Phillips, look, she got a love for these kids. And we had a. I'm going to drop that incident we had a few years ago where I really learned a lot about your character. And I don't know, it just meant a lot to me. We had a situation where I'm just, I'm one of those, like, fat people. I've got routines, and you know that. And so I was getting my Maryland fried chicken. I don't even know what the situation was. Maybe I don't wake up late, but I was late. And this poor pitiful woman, and I say poor and pitiful because look, she walked into just a disaster. I don't even know what it was like, but I was the in-room person in the morning time. Supposed to be there at 7:20. Gosh, I don't even know what time it was. What time did I come traipsing in there looking like a dope? 7:40? I don't know.
Sure.
This woman right here, look, she had kids off the rafters. I mean, they're crazy because their prize, Mr. Horton, he wasn't there. This woman was standing in there just, look, she, now if you know anything about Miss Phillips, you'll laugh because she just meek and humble, but she had those kids just chilling. It was a calm, cool, collected situation, and, she handled it. And so I just made sure that she understood, that meant the world to me because people just don't normally do things out of the kindness of their heart like that, and it meant a lot to me. So, okay, what are some of the pitfalls you think of co-teaching? Like, what's some things that maybe you have to give up? Like, I mean, what makes you uncomfortable about co-teaching?
It's different with different teachers. You never know what to expect.
Well, and I'm going to be honest with you, every teacher's different. Like, I can't imagine. Students, are you worried about being like typecast? Like certain students will look at you as like the SPED teacher? Like, I mean, what do you worry about with that part?
Well, I don't normally go around saying I'm the
Exactly.
SPED teacher. You're just another teacher.
You know, and I told you I wouldn't give you any gotcha questions. I went on a GAPS review many years ago where the co-teacher actually outed the SPED students in the class. I'm the SPED teacher, and these are my SPED students. And I seriously did a 360 and walked out. I was just like, you just humiliated them. But honestly, they were just naive. I think it's third grade. They didn't even realize it. But that's one thing I admire about Miss Phyllis is that you generally, like, you don't even have to think twice. You know that she loves these kids, and they love her because they were asking her. She had a meeting earlier, and she couldn't be in the presence of our class, and they were all just bugged out. And they were, because look, I'm ugly enough, and it's kind of like it makes it better to tolerate me. It's like kind of like a nasty drink that you just have to, it's a tough pill to swallow me, but Miss Phillips makes it good. So what's the long haul? You're in special ed, you dream of being a SPED teacher the rest of your life?
No.
I see that look in her face, you know, so why not? Like, what are some of the stresses? You looked at me earlier. I made a really bad joke, and that's one thing, we have those nonverbal cues. I made a really bad joke, and I looked out of the corner of my eye, and you weren't smiling, but it's one of those where I checked you later, and you said, man, look, I'm stressed out. I'm not thinking about you right now. I'm stressed out. So what typically stresses you out as a SPED teacher?
The meetings, like with the psychologist and everybody.
Let me tell you something, and then I don't think I mentioned this yet, but one thing that I spent 2 years as a SPED teacher, and I don't know, I was, you know, unincorrigible, that's the word. They clearly knew I was not going to do that, and I just told them it just wasn't for me. But that was my end. Typically, most teachers, that's how they get in, like SPED. Did you know that? So I did my 2 years, and it was almost like an induction process, like really, because like I shared a room, and like you have never had a classroom to your own.
No.
Nope. So have you always been with Miss Wiley?
No, this is the second year with her.
Okay, so I remember I had to share a room with a teacher before, and look, it's so intricate, these relationships. Like we're expected to like move mountains with these kids, but if the two teachers don't get along, you can forget about it. And I'm going to tell you that, you know, I think we have a lot of consummate professionals here, and even in the doo-doo of a co-teaching year that I had, professionally, like, we clearly didn't like each other, the co-teachers I was working with, but we still made it, but oh man, they caused me a lot of anxiety. So think about this. Your co-teacher, like, what kinds of things do you carry out in Mr. Horton's classroom? What do you do? She keeps me together, first of all. Go ahead.
I do lessons. Like, I'm very involved in the room, and I get to share strategies and read books.
So do you feel like, what are some things that, you know, you feel like you've come alive with? Like, I'm going to be honest with you, because look, I'm learning with you. There's some things I've been doing, like the reading strategies and all that. It's new to me, but like, what kinds of things do you feel good about, like, that we get to do in here? Not hear my voice first and foremost. We've kind of, I love that we shoot the breeze, like, in the planning. And here's one thing you got to know about co-teaching. Co-teaching, you have to have planning. And I don't know if it's purchase time or whatever, but we made a pact at the beginning of the year, and we had a tough conversation. I said, girl, I'm going to need you in my corner. I'm going to need you. And so the fact of the matter is, we celebrated, and we focused on that Monday, and Mondays would be our day. So typically, and I know that it's been a little bump and rugged lately, what do you and I do besides you getting lambasted and your ears hurting from listening to me? What kinds of things do we try to accomplish?
We come in here every Monday, and we talk about what we're doing the next week and how we're going to best serve our kids.
Well, you know, I'm going to be honest with you, you know, you can go ahead and laugh in my face, but co-teaching, can it be enjoyable? What kinds of things do you enjoy about co-teaching in general? Like, can it work? Because I'm going to be honest with you, before this year, I knew it was going to work between you and I, but I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, co-teaching sucks. Like, I mean, it's because legally on paper you have to do it. But like, what are some things that that make you feel good about co-teaching? I guess.
Well, in here, I feel like I'm a part of the classroom. I don't feel like I'm just somebody who's in here taking up space. I'm involved.
Well, and that's my thing, and and you do a really good job at giving me nonverbal cues, and that's a huge thing. I purchased a lot of literature for us to look at, so Miss Phillips and I, we grow together, and I'll pass something along, and she does what most everyone does. I'll hand her like a thick stack of stuff, and she'll give me that smile, and sure, yeah, just to satisfy me. But no, we like to, ping pong back and forth, but my thing is, I think we're both committed, but I have 2 quotes I got to drop on you. I'm pretty sure I'm going to my 10-minute limit. This is going to be a 2-part episode. Right. And so, Robert John Meehan, this pretty much wraps up my lady right here. And I'm gonna brag her up real quick. And I know she hasn't gotten a lot of words in. We're going to do more in the future with our podcast, because we have a lot to say about co-teaching. But let me tell you something. Robert John Meehan, this is one of those educational gurus that gets cited a lot. The most valuable resource that teachers have is each other. Without collaboration, our growth is limited to our own perspectives. Miss Phillips, what do you think about teacher collaboration? What are some of your experiences about meeting with other teachers, planning with other teachers? You have the mic, lady.
Well, unfortunately, not all teachers do that.
Well, and it's that thing that I was talking about earlier, that purchase time. I think that it comes from the top down. When you're an administrator and you have to meet the needs of some of these kids, you've got to find some common planning time. Do you have common planning time with any of the teachers you work with?
No.
But you have to work above and beyond outside of your normal. And you see, she's a mother. She's got a little boy that is just bold and beautiful. And she's here after school. She's one of the last ones here every day. Why? Because, being a SPED teacher is quite difficult. So here's my other quote for you. A key to growing as a teacher is to keep company mainly with teachers who uplift you. Whose presence inspires you, and those whose dedication drives you. I'm gonna be honest with you, Miss Phillips, one thing that inspires me about you, you are the last of a dying breed, and I'll tell you, you're gonna laugh when I say this. I think you're the only person left at this school that can put up with me. I'm serious. I'm a rootin' tootin' gunslinger, and I feel like I'm like one of the last in the Wild West. But seriously, this lady, she's kind, compassionate, brave, and and I can tell that in a very weird sense, she's rooting for me as I'm rooting for her. So tell me real quick, what are some strengths you feel like you knock out of the park when it comes to co-teaching? So when you get that big mantle, that big trophy case of you being teacher of the year for so many years in a row, she loves it because I just pull her chain. We rib each other. Well, I do more ribbing with her. She just tolerates me. But what are some things that you feel like you nail in this class? And she's not going to talk about herself. She's a very humble person. But what do you do well? I'm talking like really well.
I love all the kids really well. I don't know.
But you need to talk about your shirts. Holy cow. This lady has some shirts that's going to blow your mind. She had one that was a Wizard of Oz. Tell me about that one.
Well, I love reading, so I have these shirts from a website called Litographs, and it's a picture, it's an image from a book, and it's made entirely of words from the book, and they're awesome.
That's one thing that I love about Miss Phillips is that you can clearly tell that she loves reading, but she shares that love of reading with other kids too. Another thing I think that is important about co-teaching, you fix me if I'm wrong, jump in at any time, but what is your opinion about, the harmony between teachers? Because you have 2 dynamic personalities, but how do you make it work for the kids? You know what I'm saying? What do you and I do in our classroom that makes this work? Because would you venture to say that we've made it work so far? We've been doing this now 2.5 months. Would you say it's working? And if it is working, what do we do well together? Synergy, harmony.
I feel like it works really well between us because, like I said before, you make me feel a part of the classroom. You always say this is both of our rooms and we're both teachers.
Well, and honestly, don't you, and I know you feel this way too, but I always feel that, I don't know, being typecast, I don't know, I'm not going to go into too much, detail, but I feel like, I was kind of set up to fail, but I'm one of those people that I love proving people wrong, and I know you do too, but co-teaching, do you agree with me with that statement that 9 times out of 10, it doesn't look good. The clouds are there, co-teaching is hard.
Yep.
Yep. And so, like, it's all about the relationship, too. Now, I want to be honest with you. The thing that makes our situation thrive and it's good, this woman that I'm sitting across right now, she has absolutely, fundamentally, she is dry of any ego. You agree with that statement?
Yes.
Well, and I'm just going to be honest with you. I think the thing that we read a story together earlier this year that made me smile because I thought a lot about us, Officer Buckle and Gloria. I'm a clown. She gives me the ability, and I'm going to talk about your technology tonight, how you just totally deboed me the other day. That was classic. I mean, but that just shows that compassionate side of her. Here I am. I spent some time making a hype video for this school about technology night, and we were this and we were that, and we're going to do all this stuff with technology, and this poor woman, she's in the back of the classroom. She's just smiling as big as she can because she knows that I'm looking like the biggest goof troop of all time because, look, coming up on Thursday was not technology night. By God, it was science night. So, but what was going on in your head when you were watching me? Was it just funny to you, or were you just didn't want to mess up the flow?
Right.
Okay.
I knew you worked really hard on that, and it was awesome. And I was like, no.
But I think Renee Phillips, my co-teacher, I think she fell in line with a bunch of people because I've heard that same statement. They saw how hard, how beautiful it was, but it took my administrator. And I sent a story to Miss Phillips. I don't know if you've ever read this story, but it's called The Emperor's New Clothes, where pretty much this emperor is a doofus, and he ends up wearing invisible thread, and he is butt naked, and he believes that he's wearing this invisible thread that these pretty much peddlers have given him to take his money. Okay, and so the thing is, you need to understand that, it's okay. She's okay. She's willing to let me fail. I don't think we failed too often in here. We've had some that have been, I don't think we've had too many disasters. Would you say? No. Me and this lady though, I hate to be cliche. I'm that kind of dude that, I tend to just say the same things over and over again. But you know what? Phillips is all right. And I'll tell you why. You can tell she loves her husband. She loves her family. She's a family person. We have actually a lot more in common than pretty much any in this school. We're about the same age. I believe you're a year older than me. Is that correct? Yes. So she has the empirical wisdom, and she has that. I say things, and my daughter calls it baiting, but all I do, I rib her in the middle of class. Today, for example, I wonder what you thought. We were doing a test together, and I don't even remember what happened. The kids talking or something, and I said, y'all, and I brought it to the kids' tent. I said, Miss Phillips, her right eye is twitching, and you know what? I think I even set you up earlier this year as being like an 8 Mile, like you're like a rap legend or something. But I love just pulling parties, and that's my thing. Would you not agree? I think that the kids in our situation, they know that we're tight. Like you know what I'm saying? It would really stink if we did not get along. But because the kids, they would know it, like in the climate. But I think you and I do a good job because we're both warm. I try to be funny, and one thing I read and I thought about you today, talking about the benefits of co-teaching. This woman provides me a bathroom break. And I know that, look, if you're listening to this, you're a teacher in your classroom, you know what I'm talking about. My planning time is at 2:00 at the end of the day. Then I get recess right before that. And then we have the lunch. And so this woman, she provides me, and I think she just knows. We talked earlier this year, and I think for both of us, I mean, she has the ability to slip out whenever I'm flapping my gums, and whenever she's killing it in her lesson. I have learned, Phillips, and I think you've learned to appreciate it. I have learned to shut my mouth. And if I can't shut my mouth, I'll just walk out for a little bit. Have you picked up on that? That's one of those nonverbal cues. Do you tend to run this ship differently when I walk out, or is it just like, what's going through your head?
I think it's pretty much the same.
Well, that's how it has to be. And so, I'm thinking to myself that, just bathroom breaks are a definite benefit, but also knowing deep down, I think you and I realize we are realizing the dream. The mission is of addition, that we're going to put these kids in a better situation to succeed. And I think that you and I both, I think that we have a heart for this. And I think that with data and strategies and all kinds of equipment that we're straddling with these kids, we want them to be successful. I think you and I edify them. We give them compliments, but also, we try to give them real world examples. I mean, Miss Phillips has talked about her husband being a reader, leader, and her son. I think we tried to brag him up because, he's on another team, and it's just weird. I just feel like we should be teaching him, but he's doing his thing. And, Miss Phillips is really good about those nonverbal cues, about when I need to shut up. I think you did it one time, and I was so proud of you. One time I was on a roll, baby. I was just rocking and rolling, and I think she finally got sick of it. She just jumped right in because she had a mini lesson she wanted to do. She jumped right in there, and she said, she did her thing, and it was just my cue because apparently I wasn't getting the nonverbal cues that I was intruding upon her time. So, anyways, I want to thank you so much, and just like always, Miss Phillips didn't get to say much, but I guarantee she'll be back on the podcast very, very soon. Thank you so much for listening. We'll check you next time.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.